Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This time class, I am going to discuss the inverse trigonometric function. So, kasama pa din ito doon sa topics sa derivatives of functions. Sa pre-calculus sa inverse trigonometric function class, bago natin i-discuss yung application ng differentiation sa inverse trigonometric function. So we have, if f is a one-to-one function with domain x and range y, then its inverse function has domain y and range x. Ibig sabihin, pinagpalit lang sila kasi inverse naman. So moreover, if y equals to f of x, then x is equal to f inverse of y. Okay, so ang pagkabasa nito class, this one is f inverse, hindi f to the negative 1, kundi f inverse of y. The following are definitions of the inverse trigonometric function. First is the inverse sine function. It is denoted by this one. Okay, so ito yung notation ni sine inverse or inverse ni sine function or arc sine. Okay, sine inverse or arc sine is defined by sine inverse of x is equal to y if and only if sine of y is equal to x, where x is between negative 1 to 1 and yung y natin is from negative pi over 2 up to positive pi over 2. Okay, so ito yung notation ni arc sine or inverse sine function. Okay, kung pag nakita ninyo ang notation na to, it's either sa dalawa na to, sine inverse or sine to the negative 1 yung makita ninyo, sine inverse pa rin yan, or inverse of sine function or arc sine. The next one is the inverse cosine function. It is denoted by cosine inverse. Okay. Cosine inverse or arc cosine is defined by cosine inverse of x equals to y if in the only if cosine of y equals to x, where x is ranges from negative 1 to positive 1, parehas kanina sa inverse sine function, while yung y natin dito is from 0 to pi. Ibig sabihin, half of the revolution lang, no? 0 to pi, from 0 to 180 degrees. The third one class is the inverse of the tangent function. It is denoted by tangent inverse or arc tangent is defined by tangent inverse of x equals to y if and only if tangent of y equals to x. So, ibig sabihin, yung inverse of the tangent function is wala siyang restriction sa x and y. Okay, the fourth one is the inverse cotangent function. Okay, kung may tangent tayo, may cotangent function din tayo. So, it is denoted by cotangent inverse or arc cotangent is defined by cotangent inverse of x equals y, and if and only if cotangent of y equals to x, where x is any real number. Okay, so may restriction na kay cotangent function. Yung x natin is any real number, and yung y natin is from negative pi over 2 up to pi over 2. Okay. Ang pang-fifth na trigonometric, the inverse trigonometric function is the second function. The inverse second function, it is denoted by second inverse or arc second, is defined by second inverse of x equals y if and only if second y equals to x, where the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 1 and y is from 0 to pi less than, where y is 0 to pi over 2 less than or equal to pi over 2, or yung y natin is from negative pi over 2 up to negative pi. So, kasalin sa negative pi kasi less than or equal man yung inequalities natin dito. Inequality rather. Sa ang last na inverse function is the inverse of cosecant function. So, it is denoted by cosecant inverse, CSC, okay? Cosecant inverse or arc cosecant is defined by cosecant inverse of x equals y if and only if cosecant y equals to x. So, the same si cosecant at saka si tangent na wala silang restriction, both x and y. And then the other four inverse functions is may restriction sila sa x and y. The following theorem tell us how to find the derivatives of the inverse trigonometric function. So since na-discuss na natin yung definitions ng inverse trigonometric function, magagamit na natin or ma-apply na natin to sa derivatives. Okay, sa theorem 2.6.1, the derivatives of the inverse trigonometric functions, first is derivative of y equals to arc secant, or yung derivative daw ng sine inverse of sine function, kasi diba ang other notation ni arc sine is yung sine, ano ba yan? Yung sa definition natin, sine inverse. Okay. Yan yung other notation ni arc sine. Ang derivative daw ni arc sine x is dy over dx is equal to 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. So, given na ito class, this is a class. So, kailangan tandaan natin where x is from negative 1 up to 1. So, pag tinanong sa inyo ano yung derivative ni arc sine, or sine inverse, is ito yung sasabihin ninyo. dy over dx or y prime is equal to 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. The second one is the derivative of y equals to arc cosine x. Okay, so cosine x, ang derivative ni arc cosine x is dy over dx equals to negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. So, kung mapapansin niyo class, yung derivative ni arc sine x at saka ni arc cosine x is parehas lang. But yung kay arc cosine x is naging negative nga lang siya. Diba? Okay, the same lang. But yung kay arc cosine naman is negative. So, madali lang siyang tandaan. The third one is the derivative of the arc tangent, or y equals to arc tangent x is dy over dx, which is equal to 1 over 1 plus x squared. So, eto din yung derivative ni arc tangent. Okay. Derivative ni tangent number. Kasi pag sinabi natin arc tan, derivative ni inverse tangent x. Arc tan is the inverse tangent x. Okay, the fourth one is the derivative of arc cotangent x. Inverse ng cotangent is dy over dx is equal to negative 1 over 1 plus x squared. So, parehas lang din ng derivative si arc tangent at saka si arc cotangent. But si arc cotangent na lang is naging negative. Parehas ng previous formulas or yung derivatives natin kanina. Si sine and cosine, parehas. Si arc sine and arc cosine rather is parehas ng derivatives. But negative yung kay arc cosine. Si arc tangent at si arc cotangent naman, parehas lang din ng derivative. But negative yung kay arc cotangent. Same also with the derivative of the arc secant x. Ang derivative ni class is dy over dx equals to 1 over x times the square root of x squared minus 1, where x natin dito is the absolute value of x is greater than 1. Okay. And then, yung last is last na inverse trigonometric function is si arc cosecant. Si arc cosecant naman, ang derivative niya is dy over dx equals to negative 1 over x times the square root of x squared minus 1, where the absolute value of x is greater than 1. So, parehas lang din si arc secant x at saka si arc cosecant x ng derivative, but negative yung kay arc cosecant x, which means tatlong formula lang yung ipa-familiarize natin dito. Yung arcsine, yung arctangent, yung arcsecant. Kasi the other two is the same lang naman, but negative yung isa. Si arcsine, partner niya si arccosine, negative yung kay arccosine. Si arctangent naman, partner niya si arccotangent, negative yung kay arccotangent. Si arcsecant naman, ang partner niya is si arccosecant, negative yung kay arccosecant. Okay, so those are the theorems and the derivatives of the inverse trigonometric function. So, eto na yung formula. Etong formula na to, class, is the same lang doon sa nabanggit natin kanina sa previous slide na theorem. So, let u be a function of x, then the following formula holds. Okay, so ang ginamit dito na variable, class, is variable u, and then yung ginamit dito na notation is ganito, hindi yung arcsine, pero the same lang ha, kasi yung sa ibang libro kasi, class, is ang ginagamit is yung arcsine, ang iba naman is sine inverse, yung may negative 1 sa taas na exponent. Okay, ang ibig sabihin lang ng formula 1 is derivative of the arcsine or sine inverse of u is equal to 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared times yung derivative ni u. So, ibig sabihin ng, class, pag-kukunin natin yung, pag-apply natin yung derivative ni sine inverse or arcsine is eto. Diba ito yung formula na na-mention kanina sa previous slide sa theorem? After ninyong ma-apply ito, okay, yan. Yung u na yan, class, is yan yung function na kasama ng function natin, ng inverse trigonometric function natin, is yun yung ipapalit natin dito. And then after that, ita-times natin yung derivative ni u dito. Okay, so later on, magbigay tayo ng example para mas maintindihan natin paano ma-apply yung formula. Okay, sa formula 2 naman, formula number 2, the derivative of cosine inverse u or arccosine is equal to the negative of 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared times yung derivative ni u. Ibig sabihin, pag nakuha nyo na yung na-apply nyo na yung formula, ita-times nyo na naman kung ano yung derivative ni function u dito. Sa third na formula, class, ang derivative ni tangent inverse or arctangent u is equal to 1 over 1 plus u squared times yung derivative ni u na naman. So, always may multiply natin dito yung derivative ng function u. Sa fourth na formula is the derivative of the arccotangent u or cotangent inverse is equal to the negative of 1 plus over 1 over 1 plus u squared. So, kasi doon sa, huwag kayong malito ha, kasi doon sa theorem na na-mention sa previous slide, classes, variable x yung ginamit. Pero dito sa formula is variable u. So, the same lang talaga. And then, multiplied by the derivative. Etong b sub x, ibig sabihin yung derivative of u with respect to x. Okay, so number 5 na formula, ang derivative daw ni secant inverse or arcsecant u is equal to 1 over u times the square root of u squared minus 1 times the derivative of u. The last one, class, is the derivative of cosecant inverse or arccosecant inverse is equal to the negative of 1 over u times the square root of u squared minus 1 times the derivative of u. Okay, so sa next slide, bigyan na tayo ng example para ma-apply natin itong formula na ito. For example, determine the derivative of the following functions. So, ang first na given na function is f of x equals to the arccosine of 1 minus 2x plus x squared, or f of x is equal to cosine inverse. The same lang ng pagkabasa yun. The same lang ng meaning yun. Kahit magkaiba yung pagkabasa, cosine inverse or arccosine is parehas lang yan, of 1 minus 2x plus x squared. So, using formula 2, this is not formula 1, this is formula 2, kasi cosine inverse man, we let u is equal to 1 minus 2x plus x squared. So, pag nakita ninyo, class, yung function na yan, right after the inverse trigonometric function is yun na yung ililat ninyo na u. Kasi yun man yung function na kasama ni inverse trigonometric function. So, we let u is equal to 1 minus 2x plus x squared. And then, kunin na natin yung derivative nito para diretso na tayong mag-substitute mamaya sa formula. So, let u is equal to 1 minus 2x plus x squared. Ang derivative ni 1 minus 2x plus x squared is d sub x of u is equal to negative 2 kasi ang derivative ni 1 is 0 naman. Derivative ni negative 2x is negative 2 and then derivative ni x squared is 2x. So, ito yung ipapalit natin doon sa formula. Right after doon sa formula, yung may d sub x of u. Remember, yung sa formula, yung sa last. So, we have, so diba class, ang formula ni cosine inverse, what I mean is the derivative of the cosine inverse is 1 negative of, this is negative of 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared. Diba yan yung derivative ni arc cosine times yung derivative ni u. Okay, sorry. So, hindi ko siya masyadong, kasi wala akong gamit na, okay, times du. Okay, so ito yung formula na gagamitin natin or in-apply dito. So, pag nag-derive na kayo, do not forget, yung function na f of x magiging f prime of x. Ang ibig sabihin nito, nag-start na kayo mag-derive. So, we have the negative 1. Automatic na 1 yan. Kasi given na yan. Over the square root of, okay, so 1 is given na din yung 1 na yan. Okay. Yung u squared na yan, class, is eto siya. Diba yung gilat natin na u dito is 1 minus 2x plus x squared. Since squared man to, so that's why naging squared din yan. Okay. So, eto class, si u, pinalitan siya ng 1 minus 2x plus x squared galing dito sa given natin times, okay, times negative 2 plus 2x. Saan ito kinuha? Ito yung derivative ni u. Okay, and dito sa taas. Okay, ibig sabihin nun formula times yung derivative ni u. Okay, so simplify natin. So, we have the negative of 1 over the square root of 1 times, ang expansion nito or ang product nito class is 1 minus 4x plus 6x squared minus 4x cubed plus x to the power of 4 multiplied, bring down lang natin sa negative 2 plus 2x. Okay? And then, therefore, ang f inverse ni arc cosine or cosine inverse is 2 minus 2x kasi si 1 is si negative 1, i-times natin kay negative 2 plus 2x is magiging negative 1 times negative 2 is magiging positive 2. And then negative 1 times positive 2x is magiging negative 2x. Kasi diba ang rule sa fraction is yung i-multiply is numerator to numerator and then denominator to denominator. And then si denominator natin class is magiging si negative sign, i-distribute natin dito, ang mangyayari is magiging 1 minus 1 is 0 na yan. So, negative times negative 4x is magiging positive 4x. Negative times positive 6x squared is negative 6x squared. And then negative times negative 4x cubed is positive 4x cubed. Negative times positive x to the power 4 is negative x to the power 4. So, since hindi na ito masimplify, pwedeng ito na yung final answer natin. Or, if pwede mo pa siyang lowest term or ma-reduce or ma-simplify, is pwede mo pa is much better. Another example is y equals to arc sine of 3x minus arc cosine of 3x. This is a combination of formula 1 and formula 2. So, using formula 1 for the first term, okay, ito yung first term natin, and then using formula 2 for the second term. So, we let u is equal to 3x kasi parehas lang naman sila ng function na given, di ba? Or angle na given, 3x lahat. So, we let u is equal to 3x and and then derivative ni 3x class is just 3, right? Okay, so we have, using the formula 1, ang formula 1 is 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared, and then yung formula 2 naman is negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared. So, ito yung sa first term. Okay? So, etong 3x na yan is yan yung u natin sa formula. Okay? And then, etong 3 na to is yan yung d of u with respect to x, or derivative of u with respect to x. So, ang derivative ni 3x, okay, kaya yan naging 3 class kung hindi nyo to gagamitin tong solution ko, kasi yan yung derivative ni 3x. Okay, yan yung derivative niya. Minus, kasi minus man yun. And then sa second term, eto din yung derivative niya. Negative of 1 over the square root of 1. Okay, given na yung 1 na yan. Given na din yung 1 na yan. Minus, yung 3x na yan is yan yung u natin. And then times, yung derivative ng u natin, ang derivative ni 3x is that is equal to 3. So, simplify natin. 1 times 3 is 3 over the square root of 3x quantity squared is 9x squared. Okay, negative times negative 1 is positive 1 times 3 magiging 3 over the square root of 1 minus 9x squared. So, since the same ng denominator, ang rule sa fraction, pag the same ng denominator, i-add yung numerators natin. So, 3 plus 3, that is equal to 6. Just copy the denominator, square root of 1 minus x squared. So, ang inverse ni, this is y, okay, sorry, pakipalitan to ng y prime rather, kasi y yung ginamit dito na, anong tawag dito? Y yung ginamit dito na variable. So, y prime is equal to 6 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. Another example class is g of x equals to arc cotangent. Okay, arc cotangent of 4x squared. So, madali lang. At yung ililat natin na u, ang inverse trigonometric function natin dito is arc cotangent. Tingnan natin yung sa formula number 4. Okay, yung formula number 4 is cotangent inverse, derivative of cotangent inverse is equal to negative 1 over 1 plus u squared times d of u with respect to x. So, we let u here as 4x squared. Okay, ito siya. And then, kunin natin yung derivative nito para direct substitution na tayo sa formula natin later. Okay, so, derivative ng 4x squared is 8x. Okay, so I hope pag-aralan natin mabuti yung theorems on differentiation or yung theorems sa derivatives, kasi pag hindi nyo na-familiarize or na-master yung derivatives class sa first pa lang, mahirapan kayo dito i-apply sa inverse trigonometric function. So, we have, direction na ako ha. Okay, so diba ang formula ng inverse, derivative ng inverse ng arc cotangent is negative of 1 over 1 plus u squared. So, we have f inverse, this is g. Sorry class, this is g. Kasi g yung ginamit. Okay, g prime of x is equal to negative 1 over 1. Okay, so given na yung 1 na yan, given na din yan. And also yung negative kasi arc cotangent man plus, etong 4x squared is yan yung u natin doon sa formula times, yung 8x na yan is yan yung derivative ni 4x squared. Okay, so we have g inverse of x, g prime of x rather, for the derivative of g of x is equal to negative 8x kasi 1 times 8x is 8x times negative, so we have negative plus 1 all over 1 plus ang 4x squared quantity squared is 16x to the power of 4. So, madali lang kasi formula lang siya and then derivative. Basta, tandaanin yung formula and then times yung derivative na ilat mo na u. Dito sa example nito class, ang given natin na inverse trigonometric function is cosecant inverse. Ito yung pang last, no? Okay, so ang ililat natin dito na u is the square root of x. Ang inverse trigonometric function natin dito is the cosecant inverse rather. So using formula 6, we let u is equal to the square root of x. Pwede natin siyang isulat into exponential form, express into exponential form as x to the power of 1/2. And ang derivative nito, class, kaya ko siya kinonvert into exponential form or in-express into exponential form para madali nating makuha yung derivative niya. Di ba na-discuss na doon sa theorems on differentiation na kapag naka-radical yung given natin na function is, before natin kunin yung derivative niya, is i-convert or express muna into exponential form. Okay, so ang derivative nito is magiging 1/2. Bring down lang si 1/2. So, x times, and then mag-minus tayo ng 1's exponent. So, 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. So, ito yung derivative ni square root of x or x to the power of 1/2. So, we have using the formula 6, sa formula 6 class is, ang derivative ni inverse cosecant x is, cosecant u rather kasi variable yung ginamit sa formula, is negative 1 over u times the square root of u squared minus 1. Okay, so y prime, kasi y yung ginamit dito na variable, so y prime is equal to negative 1 over, okay, eto yung u doon sa formula, times the square root of u squared. Eto din yung u doon sa formula natin, quantity squared, minus 1, times, eto siya is, eto yung derivative ng gilet natin na u, which is yan yung square root of x. So, ang derivative niya is, niride na natin sa una pa lang, 1/2 times x to the power of negative 1/2. Okay, so simplify natin. Negative 1 times 1/2 x to the power of negative 1/2 is magiging negative 1/2 times 1 over the square root of x. Nilagay ko sa baba si x to the power of negative 1/2 para maging positive siya, and then binalik ko siya into radical form. And then sa denominator naman, square root of x times the square root of x minus 1 na lang ito, kasi square root of x quantity squared, makakancel out si exponent at saka si index. We left with the variable x na lang, minus 1. Okay, so this is equal to negative 1 over 2 square root of x. Kasi negative 1 times positive 1 is negative 1. 2 times the square root of x is square root of x. Okay, just copy the denominator, which is equal to, okay, so simplify natin. Negative 1 over 2 square root of x times, ang reciprocal ng denominator natin is the square root of x times square root of x minus 1 over 1. So, cancel out si 1, and then cancel out din si square root of x dito, cancel out si square root of x. We left with negative square root of x minus 1 over 2. So, this is the derivative of the given function, r cosecant inverse of the square root of x. Sa fifth example natin, class, ang given na inverse trigonometric function is the arcsecant. Okay, arcsecant of the square root of 1 minus x squared. So, ito yung ilalat natin na u. And then, using the formula 5, we let u is equal to the square root of 1 minus x squared. Na-mention ko din kanina sa previous example, pag naka-radical yung given natin na function, i-convert into exponential, saka natin kunin yung derivative niya. So, eto, equal lang sila. Ang derivative na to is bring down yung 1/2, so eto si 1/2, and then just copy 1 minus x squared, and then mag-minus tayo ng 1's exponent. So, 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2 times, okay, may chain rule man, diba? Times yung derivative ni 1 minus x squared na negative 2x, okay? Or this is equal to negative x over 1 minus x squared raised to the power positive 1/2. Nilagay sa denominator si 1 minus x squared to the negative 1/2 para maging positive. And then 1/2 times negative 2x is negative x. So that's why naging negative ito, and then x na lang din yung natira dito. Or this is equal to negative x over the square root of 1 minus x squared. Binalik siya into radical form. So we have substituting it to the formula number 5. So we have y prime is equal to 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. So ito yung u natin sa formula 5 natin, times the square root of u squared. So ito yung u natin doon sa formula, quantity squared, and then minus 1, times, eto siya, is eto yung derivative nito, or eto. Kasi lahat ng yan, parehas lang yan, lahat u. So, saan ito galing? Yan yung derivative na 1 minus x squared na nasolve na natin dito. Okay, so simplify lang natin. So 1 times negative x is negative x, and then sa denominator we have the square root of square root of 1 minus x squared times the square root of 1 minus x squared is magiging square root of 1 minus x squared quantity squared, kasi diba the same lang sila, so pwede natin siyang ma-express in this form. Okay, times, just copy the square root of, okay, so since eto and x at saka yung exponent equal man, so we left with 1 minus x squared minus 1 na lang, or this is equal to negative x over, okay, eto, just copy this one, and then siya, distribute natin what I mean is, simplify natin yung nasa loob ng radicals, 1 minus x squared minus 1, cancel out si 1, diba? So we left with negative x squared. Or this is equal to negative x over 1 minus x squared, kasi cancel out na din yan. The same kasi yung exponent and radical, and x natin another, times the square root of negative x squared. So pwede pa itong ma-simplify. So sa inyo na yan, iwanan ko na sa inyo for the simplification of the y prime of arc second of the square root of 1 minus x squared. So, ang next topic doon sa inverse of trigonometric function is the exponential and logarithmic function. So, I know na may idea na kayo sa exponential and logarithmic function kasi na-discuss na ito sa previous mathematics subject ninyo sa Math 111E, if I'm not mistaken, or Math 111. Okay, so, review lang ito. So, yung sa exponential and logarithmic function, i-apply lang natin yung derivative of a function or differentiation dito sa logarithmic and exponential. The exponential function with base a is the function defined by y equals to f of x equals to a to the power of x, where a is greater than 0. So, ito yung exponential form natin or exponential function. Kaya exponential kasi may exponent yung function natin. So, take note, yung base dapat natin, okay, with base a must be greater than 0. So, hindi siya pwedeng maging negative or maging 0. The logarithmic functions to the base a is defined as the inverse of the exponential function. So, yung logarithmic function class, it is defined as the inverse. So, ibig sabihin yung kabaliktaran ng exponential function natin. So, diba, ito yung exponential function natin, y equals to a to the power of x from here. Okay? Where a is greater than 0, and a must not be equal to 1. Okay? It is denoted by f of x is equal to the log, kasi logarithmic function naman, log of x to the base a. Okay, so ito yung inverse na exponential function, the logarithmic function. So determine the inverse of the following exponential function. So example lang to, kasi hindi na ako mag-discuss further about the exponential and logarithmic. Diretso na tayo sa differentiation kasi na-discuss naman to sa previous math natin. Y is equal to, example is, y equals to 2 to the power of x. So, this is an exponential function. Ang inverse niya, okay, ang inverse, take note, ang inverse na exponential function is the logarithmic function. So, ang inverse ni y equals to 2 to the power of x is f of x equals to the log of AC 2. Kasi diba, eto, pagbasahin natin yung log of x with the base a. So, ibig sabihin, yung base natin sa exponential, dito siya malalagay sa baba ng log, yung word na log, or logarithm. Okay? And then, si x is dito siya sa tapat ni log. Okay? So, log of x with the base 2. Okay? And then, another is f of x is equal to 10 to the power of x. So, madali lang, ang base natin dito is 10. automatic na may log dyan, and then si 10, lagay natin dito kasi galing yan dito sa base ng exponential function natin, and then si exponent na x is dito sa tapat ng log. Okay, and then another is f of x is equal to e to the power of x. Ang inverse din niya is the log of x with the base e. Okay, si e, galing yan dun sa base natin sa exponential function natin, and then si x is galing yan dun sa exponent natin. Okay. Before we proceed to the differentiation of exponential and logarithmic functions, so we have to discuss first the properties of the laws of exponents. What I mean is the exponential and the logarithmic function. So, first is the laws of exponents hold in exponential functions. Ibig sabihin nun, yung laws of exponents natin class sa algebra natin is mag-hold siya dito sa exponential function. And then, if m is equal to a to the power of n, then n is equal to the log of m with the base e. Where m and n must be greater than 0. The other property is let a greater than 0, let m greater than 0, and n greater than 0, then the following hold. First is the log of 1 with the base e equals to 0. Bakit? Kasi a to the power of 0, kung i-convert natin to into exponential, ibang mangyayari dito is a, kasi yan yung base. Convert natin into exponential kasi inverse lang man sila ng logarithm. So, a and then si 0, yan yung magiging exponent natin, di ba? Katulad dito, sa number 2. Okay. Si exponent, dito siya nalagay. So, ito yung n natin. Si 1 is yan yung m. Okay, a to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Okay, true, di ba? Kasi any number raised to the power of 0, that is always equal to. Okay, so that's why itong property number 3 sa a is tama siya. Okay, the log of a with the base a equals to 1. Kasi di ba magiging a to the power of 1, okay, equals to 1. This is equals to a. Kasi exponent yung kasi na 1, na ibig sabihin yun na kung doon ay given sa'yo at least, ito pa rin yung answer yan. Okay, sa letter C naman, log of m times n with the base a, kung multiplication m times n, eto siya is pwede natin ma-express as the log of m with the base a plus the log of n with the base a. Okay, ibig sabihin, pag multiplication or pinag-multiply yung dalawang function dito sa logarithmic function, so pwede nyo siyang i-expand into this form. Then, saka ninyo kunin yung result niya. Kung division naman log of m divided by n with the base e, ang expansion niya is log of n with the base a minus log of n with the base a. Okay, then times plus and division minus, take note. And then the log of m raised to the power of r base e, si exponent na r, bring down lang siya dito, then times log of a with the base, log of m rather with the base a. Kumbaga na ayaw niya alin sa yan si exponent na r na input. Okay, so we have the table 2.1, the properties of the exponential and logarithmic function. So exponential form or exponential function is y equals to a to the power of x, and then logarithmic function is the inverse of the exponential, y equals to the log of x with the base a. So kung ang domain ni f sa exponential function is any real number, ang domain naman ni logarithmic function f is x greater than 0. Okay, so yun yung pinagkaibahan nila. Ang image naman or range ni exponential function is y greater than 0, and then yung image naman ni logarithmic function is any real number. Kasi inverse lang nga. Okay, so that's why si domain ni exponential, yun yung magiging image ni logarithm. Yung domain ni logarithm naman is yun yung magiging image ni exponential. Kasi inverse lang silang dalawa. The asymptote is the x-axis sa exponential function. Yung asymptote naman ni logarithmic function is the y-axis. And then yung intercept ni exponential is 0 and 1. And then yung kay logarithm naman, logarithmic function is 1, 0. Baliktad, no? Sa exponential function, f is increasing if a is greater than 1. And then dito naman, parehas lang sila. F is increasing if a is greater than 1. The same lang din, if f is decreasing if a is between 0 to 1. Parehas lang sila. And then f is decreasing if a is between 0 to 1. So, the same sila ng properties. Sa last, masasabi natin na increasing siya if f is greater than 1 and decreasing naman siya if f is between 0, if a rather is between 0 to 1. In theorem 2.7.2, if f of x equals to e to the power of x, so ito yung function natin, ang derivative daw niya class is f prime of x equals to e to the power of x. So, the same lang kung e to the power of x, pag tinanong yung derivative niya, e to the power of x pa rin yan. If f of x equals to ln of x naman, if ang given natin na function is ln of x or natural logarithm of x, kasi itong e na to is exponential yan, then yung inverse ni ln of x is 1 over x. Okay, so take note, derivative ni e to the power of x is the same, e to the power of x. Derivative ni ln of x is 1 over x. Okay, so kailangan ninyong tandaan ng theorem na ito kasi magagamit nyo to doon sa next na math, sa math 132E. Okay, sa Analytic, Geometry, and Calculus 2. So, we have steps in logarithmic differentiation. So, given y equals to f of x, then, okay, so step 1, take ln or log both sides and simplify. So, take ln or log. Parehas lang si log or ln ha. Both sides and simplify. And then, after that, differentiate implicitly. So, ma-apply natin dito yung implicit differentiation. And then, solve for dy over dx for dy prime. Kasi diba doon sa implicit differentiation na na-discuss natin, y prime yung ginamit ko doon na variable. And then, express y in terms of x. Okay, for example, find the derivative of the following using logarithmic differentiation. So, gagamitin natin to. Okay, so f of x equals to x to the power of x. Ito yung given natin na function. Diba? X to the power of x. So, ang step 1, take ln or log both sides. Okay, so, ln, si f of x class is, pwede natin siyang i-express as y. Kasi di ba given y equals to f of x. Ibig sabihin si f of x, equal lang siya, lang din yan as the variable y. So, ln of y, okay, ito na lang, y equals to x to the power of x. So, ibig sabihin nun, before kayo mag-proceed sa step 1, kailangan yung function natin, kung hindi siya naka-express in terms of variable y dito, sa left side, is express muna natin in terms of y. Okay, so y equals to x to the power of x. So, step 1 na tayo. So, take ln or log both sides. So, ang ln ni y is ln y. Nagdagan lang siya ng ln plus. Kasi take ln or log man. And then, yung sa kabilang side din, sa right side, lagyan lang din ng ln. Okay, dinagdagan lang siya ng ln sa step 1. Just copy the given. Okay, ln of y galing dito, dinagdagan ng ln. Ito din, dinagdagan din siya ng ln. So, ito na yung result niya. Okay, ln of y class is equal to, okay, doon sa properties ng logarithmic function is, pag may exponent, ibaba natin siya. So, that's why etong x na yan, galing yan dito sa exponent na yan. Okay, so, we left with ln x. So, x times the ln of x. And then, sa step 2, differentiate implicitly and then solve for dy over dx or y prime. So, ibig sabihin, both sides, okay, ito is i-differentiate natin siya or i-derive. Okay, yung differentiation or derivative is differentiation or the derivation is the same lang. Differentiate or derive is the same lang. So, ang derivative ni ln of y from theorem 2.7.2 is 1 over x. Kasi ln x man, kung variable y din yung ginamit dito, 1 over y din. So, derivative of ln of y is 1 over y. times y prime kasi nag-derive tayo kay variable y. Remember, sa inverse of differentiation, pag nag-derive tayo kay variable y, always natin lalagyan ng y prime. Okay. Derivative of ln of y is 1 over y. Since nag-derive tayo kay variable y, mag-a-add tayo dito ng y prime. Okay, sa right side, ang derivative ni x times the ln of x is i-apply natin dito yung product rule. So, first function and then second function. So, di ba yung sa product rule is first times the derivative of the second plus second times derivative of the first, or u dv plus v du. Okay, so we have u, or first, times yung derivative ni ln of x is 1 over x. Okay, hindi ako nag-add dito ng y prime kasi variable x yung dinerive natin. Plus, kasi product rule man, yung second function natin na ln of x, bring down lang natin, times yung derivative ni x na 1. Okay, or this is equal to 1 over y times y prime. Ito siya. Okay, and then simplify natin yung equation sa right side. So, x times 1 over x is 1 na lang yan. Diba? Okay, kasi cancel out na si x, that is equal to 1 man. X divided by x is 1. And then ln of x times 1 is the ln of x. So we have sa take, and then after that daw is isolve natin yung y prime. So, ibig sabihin nun, yung mga y prime is ilagay natin siya sa left side, and then yung mga walang y prime ilagay natin siya sa anong tawag dito? Sa right side. Sorry, sa left side yung y prime, and then yung walang y prime sa right side. Okay, so 1 over y times y prime. Mag-times tayo dito ng y, kay para ayaw bumalambasaya na y prime. So, mag-times tayo dito ng y both sides. 1 over y times y is y prime na lang. And then, sa kabilang side, magiging 1 times y is magiging y. And then, ln of x times y is magiging y times ln of x. So, dito sa right side naman, class, is magiging y plus y ln of x. Okay, so kasi nag-multiply tayo both sides by y. Okay, so this is equivalent to y prime. Okay, y times y plus y times ln of x is, pwede natin siya i-rewrite as y ln of x plus y. Niligtad ko lang si first, second term, ilagay ko lang siya sa first term. Or, si y prime plus is magiging f prime of x, kasi ang ginamit dito na function is f of x man. So, kailangan, kung yung ginamit na function is, ganun din yung gagamitin natin sa pag-derive. So, balik ko lang si y prime kay f inverse of x, and then magiging y times ln of x plus y, and then si f inverse of x natin is magiging f of x. Okay, kaya ito naging f of x times ln of x plus 1, kasi diba si y at saka si y dito, like terms man sila, no? Okay. And then, pinactor out siya, so we have y times ln of x plus 1 na lang, no? And then, since si y kasi is equivalent siya kay f of x, so that's why f is being f of x times ln of x plus 1. So we have the f inverse is equal to, ang given natin na f of x, ito siya, si f of x, naging x to the power of x kasi given naman yan. Okay, times, bring down lang natin si ln of x plus 1. So take note, etong f of x na yan, yan yung y. Okay, pinactor out dito si y. Sa first term, we left with ln of x na lang. Sa second term, pag pinactor out si y, we left with 1. So, ibig sabihin, si variable y, pinalitan lang siya ng f of x kasi equal lang man yun. And then, sa final answer natin, si f of x, naging x to the power of x. Kasi ang equivalent ng f of x natin is x to the power of x, given siya. Okay, times ln of x plus 1. So, this is the derivative of the f of x equals to x to the power of x. In example number 2 class, ang given natin is y equals to x to the power of sin x. Okay, so since ang given natin is naka-express naman in terms of y equals to f of x, so ang f of x natin dito is si x to the power of sin x. Okay, so pwede na tayo mag-proceed in step 1. So sa step 1, take ln or log both sides and then simplify. So ang ln, lagyan lang natin ng ln ito, lagyan lang din natin yun ng ln. So we have ln of y and then ln of x to the power of sin x. Okay, take note, dinagdagan lang ng ln sa first step, yung both sides natin. And then, after that, simplify natin siya before tayo mag-proceed sa step 2. So, sa properties ng logarithm class, pag may exponent, ibaba natin siya pag naka-ln or naka-log siya ha. So, si sin x, nilagay siya dito. Okay, so ln of y pa rin. And then, si sin x, nilagay siya sa baba, kasama ni ln of x. So, we left with ln of x na lang. So, sin x times the ln of x. So, eto na yung simplification natin sa step 1. Proceed tayo sa step 2. Differentiate implicitly and solve for dy over dx or y prime. So, ang derivative ni ln of y class, applying the theorem 2.7.2. Okay, so ang derivative ni ln of y is 1 over y. Since nag-derive tayo kay variable y, that's why my y prime. So take note, apply natin dito yung implicit differentiation. Kasi ang sabi man, differentiate implicitly. Kasi kailangan natin si y prime or si dy over dx. So para mas hindi tayo malito sa variable, y prime na lang. Wag na lang yung dy over dx. Kasi sa higher math, dy over dx yung ginagamit. Okay. Ang derivative din ni right side is using the product rule, the same with the example 1, kasi multiplication man ito, no? Sin x times ln of x. So, first function natin is si sin x, and second function is si ln x. So, first is sin times derivative ni ln of x na 1 over x plus the second is ln of x times yung derivative ni cosine. Sine is positive cosine. Okay. First times derivative of the second plus second times derivative of the first, the product rule. Okay, so ma-apply nyo din dito yung product rule. Okay, and then multiply tayo both sides by y. Okay, so y times y at 1 over y is y prime na lang sa left side. And then pag nag-times side tayo dito ng y, magiging y times 1 over x times sin x plus cosine of x. Okay, wala itong x na to dito na isa. Okay, cosine of x times ln of x. Okay, so pakitanggal yung dalawang x, cosine of x times the ln of x. Okay, so ito yung derivative niya. Or pwedeng i-distribute natin si y dito. So y times 1 over x sin x plus the cosine of x. Y times cosine of x times the ln of x, and then si y, replace nyo lang siya ng x sin x to the power of sin x kasi di ba given man siya, and then yung y din dito sa loob is palitan nyo lang din ng x to the power of sin x. That is for example number 2. Okay, so the same pa rin sa solving ng or sa solution ng example 1 and 2. Sa number 3, parehas lang. Sa step 1 is take ln or log both sides, and then step 2 is differentiate implicitly, and then solve for y prime or dy over dx, and then sa step 3 is express y in terms of x. So, ang sabi ko kanina before tayo mag-proceed sa step 1, kapag wala pang, pag yung given natin is hindi siya naka variable y, so kailangan etong g of x na yan, convert natin as y is equal to this. Okay, x to the power of ln of x. Saka tayo mag-proceed sa step 1. So, step 1 tayo, ln of y. Okay, lagyan lang natin ng ln both sides. ln of y is equal to the ln of x to the power of ln of x. Or this is equal to this. So, ln of y is equal to, bring down natin si ln of x. So, magiging ln of x times ln of x. Saan galing yung isang ln of x? Yung nasa exponent. Nilagay dito sa base. So, that's why naging ln of x multiplied by ln of x. Okay, so ln of I, si ln of x times ln of x is equivalent as ln of x quantity squared. Okay, so differentiate natin siya sa step na tayo. So, ang derivative ni ln of y is 1 over y. Since nag-derive tayo kay y, variable y, mag-add tayo ng y prime. And then sa left side, sa right side naman, ang derivative ni ln of x, quantity squared is 2 times the ln of x times yung derivative ni ln of x na 1 over x. Chain rule siya, class. Okay? So, multiply tayo both sides by y. So, we left with y prime is equal to 2y over x. Kasi di ba magka-times man tayo dito both sides ng y. Okay. Para ma-eliminate si 1 over y sa left side. So, 2 times y is 2y. And then, 1 times over x is nagiging 2y over x na lang. And then, ln of x. Or si y prime, balik natin siya kay g prime of x kasi g of x man yung ginamit dito. So, si y, replace natin siya by g of x. Kasi diba si y is equal to g of x lang man over x times the ln of x. So, g prime of x is equal to 2 times yung g of x na yan. Pinalitan siya dun sa given natin na x to the power of ln of x. Okay, si g of x naging x times x raised to the power of ln of x galing dito sa given. Okay, bring down sa x and then times ln of x. So, this is g prime of x. So, we have another theorem. Theorem 2.7.4. If f of x is equal to a to the power of x, then ang derivative daw ni a to the power of x is f prime of x is equal to a to the power of x times the ln of a. So, formula din ito, class. Pag nakita ninyo yan, ang derivative ni a to the power of x is a to the power of x ln of a. Another is, if f of x is equal to the log of x with the base a, then ang derivative niya is 1 over x times the ln of a. Okay, so may formula din tayo dito. Let u be a function of x. So, ang derivative ni e to the power of u is equal to e to the power of u times yung derivative ni u. Katulad doon sa inverse trigonometric function, diba? Okay. So, pero doon sa previous theorem is, ang derivative ni e to the power of x is e to the power of x. Pag tinanong sa inyo, what is the derivative of e to the power of x? Ang sasagot nyo lang, e to the power of x. Kung tinanong, what is the derivative of ln of x? Ang isasagot nyo lang, derivative of ln of x is 1 over x. So, dito sa formula natin, ang derivative ni e to the u is equal to e to the u times the derivative of the function u. And then, derivative of ln of u is equal to 1 over u times the derivative of u. Okay. And then, derivative of a to the u is equal to a to the power of u times the ln of a. Okay. Ito yung sa theorem 2.7.4. Ito naman is yung sa theorem 2.7.2. Okay. Times the derivative of u. And then, the last one is the derivative of log of u with the base a is equal to 1 over u times the ln of a multiplied by the derivative of u. For example, f of x, find the derivative of the following. F of x is equal to e to the power of 1 minus x squared. So, using the formula 1, kasi exponential function nga. So, ibig sabihin, ang gagamitin natin is the formula 1. We let u as 1 minus x squared. Kasi diba yung u natin dito sa formula 1 natin is nasa exponent siya. So, kung ano yung nasa exponent ng u, e, is yun yung ilalet natin na u. And then, ang derivative ni 1 minus x squared is negative 2x because derivative of 1 is 0. The derivative of negative x squared is negative 2x. So, applying the formula 1, so f prime of x, kasi f yung ginamit dito, is equal to e to the u times d u with respect to x. Ito yung sa formula 1. Substitute lang natin si e pa rin yan. And then si u is papalitan natin siya ng 1 minus x squared times yung du with respect to x or derivative of u with respect to x, replace it by negative 2x. Kasi yan yung derivative ng u natin na nasa exponent. So therefore, negative 2x times e to the power of 1 minus x squared yung derivative ng first example natin. Second example, class, ang given is f of x is equal to the log of 1 minus x squared over 2 minus x squared with the base 2. So using the formula 4, kasi logarithmic function na, so we let a as equals to 2 kasi yan yung base natin. And then we let u as 1 minus x squared over 2 minus x squared. And then, para diretso na tayo sa pag-substitute sa formula later on, pwedeng kunin na natin yung derivative ng u natin. So, ang u natin class, para ma-derive natin yan, kailangan natin gamitin dito yung quotient rule. So, yung sa quotient rule is low d high minus high d low over low squared. Low squared rather. So, ang low natin is 2 minus x squared times yung derivative ng high natin na 1 minus x is negative 1 minus 1 minus x, yan yung high natin, times yung derivative ng low function natin is negative 2x, and then sa denominator is squared lang natin yung low function natin na 2 minus x squared quantity squared. So, simplify natin. 2 minus x squared times negative 1 is negative 2 plus x squared. And then, negative 2 times negative 2x is positive 2x times 1 is positive 2x. Negative 2 times negative x is positive x times negative 2x is negative 2x squared. Just copy the denominator 2 minus x squared quantity squared. Okay, so simplify natin. Combining like terms, so we have negative x squared plus 2x minus 2 and then bring down yung denominator natin. So, since na-derive na natin yung sa yung u natin, pwedeng diretso na tayong mag-substitute sa formula. So, we have f prime of x is equal to 1. Diba ang formula, ang derivative nito is 1 over a ln of a times du. Okay. With respect to x. So, we have 1 is given din na nansiko formula ang i-mention na sa last slide times, eto yung u natin, yung 1 minus x over 2 minus x squared as a whole times the ln of a. Ang a natin is yan yung base. Okay? A is equal to 2. Yan yung base. Kung nakalagay dito na base is 3, which means 3 din yung ilalagay ninyo dito. ln of 3 times, eto yung derivative galing dito. Okay, galing dito. Negative x squared plus 2x minus 2 over 2 minus x squared quantity squared. So, we have f prime of x, simplify lang natin. So, times natin dito. So, negative x squared plus 2x minus 2 ln of 2 times, since eto, pwede natin siyang ma-cancel out. Cancel out tayo ng isang 2 minus x squared dito. So, we left with 2 minus x squared na lang na isa. And then, cancel out din yung sa denominator, no? Okay, so 1 minus x multiplied by 2 minus x. So, we left with f prime of x is equal to negative x squared plus 2x minus 2 all over ln of 2 times, simplify natin to, x cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus. So, ito yung derivative. Example number 3 naman is the combination of the logarithmic function and the inverse trigonometric functions, which means magagamit natin dito rather yung derivative ng inverse trigonometric function. So, ang inverse ni arc sine or sine inverse is 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared times du, no? Yun ba yun? Okay. Times, ito din, apply natin dito yung sa formula as theorem 2 or sa formula 2 rather. So, g prime of x, derivative of g of x is g prime of x, arc sine x. Okay, so since multiplication yung nandito class, ang involved na operation dito is multiplication. So, gagamitin natin dito is the product rule. So, first times derivative of the second. Okay, ito yung second function natin. Plus second times derivative of the first. So, first is arc sine x times derivative ni ln of square root of x plus product rule ha, take note, product rule. ER for the product rule. Okay, plus second times yung derivative ni arc sine x. So, arc sine x, bring down lang natin. Ang derivative ni ln of the square root of x is 1 over the square root of x times derivative ni square root of x. Okay, plus, bring down si ln of the square root of x, times yung derivative ni arc sine x is 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared, times yung derivative ni x na 1. Okay, 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared lang ito kasi ang u natin dito class is x lang man. Okay. So we have 1 over the square root of x times arc sine x rather, and then derivative ni square root of x is 1/2 times x to the power of negative 1/2. Okay, eto, derivative yan ni square root of x. Plus, ln of x times this is magiging ln of square root of x rather. Sa denominator niya is the square root of 1 minus x squared. Kasi times natin to sa 1, ito pa rin yung result, diba? Or this is, it implies that 1 over the square root of x times arc sine x. Okay, simplify natin to, magiging 1 over 2 square root of x. Nilagay sa denominator si x to the power of negative 1/2 para maging positive yung exponent niya, and then kinonvert into radical function. Plus, copy lang natin to, so we have 1 over 2x arc sine x plus the ln of the square root of x over the square root of 1 minus x squared. So, na-simplify na. So, eto yung mga examples for the the differentiation on exponential and logarithmic functions.